Star Wars: The Last Jedi. Let's get into it.
No.
Bow 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 bow.
What's up, guys? TJ here with another video. If you like these types of videos, please like, share, and subscribe. I really appreciate it. Also hit that bell icon so you can get notifications whenever I release new videos. Today I'm going to be talking about Star Wars: The Last Jedi. So I went and saw Star Wars tonight. It was overall an awesome movie. I'm going to give you like my overall impression of the movie without doing any spoilers at the beginning, and then if you want to see the spoilers, they will be towards the end of the video. Make sure I put an alert here before I do any spoilers for all you moviegoers. Overall, the movie was actually really good. I wasn't expecting anything less than that, but I have been disappointed before in the past with Star Wars movies. Historically, I wasn't a Star Wars fan. I'm more of a Marvel fan, but I have recently been into the Star Wars game, if you will. Anyway, overall the movie was really solid in terms of progression of the movie. The movie was about 2.5 hours long. It didn't take very long to get into the action, get into the bulk of the story. I guess one of my cons of the movie was that they kind of split it off into two kind of storylines, I guess you can say. There was, a lot of stuff happening over on this side, and then there was a lot of stuff happening over on this side, and then, they kind of was affecting the overall, I don't know, end point or end part of the movie. Another thing, I know a lot of Star Wars diehard fans are going to be disappointed in some of the things that take place. There's a lot of story resolution, also like the birth of kind of new things. I'm trying to say this without giving up too much information for those of you who don't want spoilers, but I will say, if you're a Star Wars fan, even if you're not a Star Wars fan, I think it's going to be a really solid movie to go see. It's up to par with, of course, any of the latest and greatest blockbusters that come out. But I will say, if you are a diehard Star Wars fan, I think it is going to add something to the Star Wars saga. I don't know if you call it a saga because it's a bunch of movies, but anyway, the Star Wars universe. I think there's a lot that this movie adds to that, and there is some resolution to some of the things that that happen. So anyway, without further ado, I'm going to give some spoilers in this part. I'm going to talk in detail about what happened in the movie and how I felt about different things. These are just my opinion, so don't crucify me. This is my opinion. So let's go. Alright, the first thing I want to talk about was the Finn and Rose conflict. So at the beginning of the movie, they go in and they talk about the First Order and how they are in conflict with the rebellion, and they kind of really just jump right into the story, and they kind of go they show that conflict first, and they actually have a lot of comedic portions of this movie. There's a lot of laugh moments. Of course, tonight was like a really Star Wars fan night, because the movie actually doesn't really get released until tomorrow. So a lot of people in the movie theater tonight was diehard Star Wars fans, and there was a lot of laughter. That's one thing I have noticed in a lot of these newer movies, is that they are really pumping up the comedy, when you're in a movie. Now that can be a pro and a con, because sometimes I don't want to laugh, you know what I mean? I want to have a good movie, and I want to have a good solid storyline, and there may have been a little bit too much comedy. One of the first little comedic kind of things was when the First Order was contacted by the rebellion they was like in conflict, and they made like a kind of a telephone call to each other, and he was trying to act like, you know, he was losing reception with him. You know, he was just like, can you hear me now? Can you hear me now? You know, kind of trying to move around to get get a good solid signal. And it was you know, it was funny, but I think some people won't necessarily appreciate the comedy in the movie, especially if you're not going there for a comedic film. I said the same thing about Thor. Thor had a lot of comedy in it. I like the comedy inside of Thor. I think it showed a different part of that character, kind of a funnier part of that character. So I did appreciate it, and this also does the same thing. Now, with that being said, there was a storyline between Finn and a new character, Rose Tico. And Finn we recognize from Star Wars The Force Awakens. Now, of course, in this Star Wars The Last Jedi, Finn is awoken, and as soon as he's awoken, he's looking for Rey. We saw from the last film that Rey was on the island with Luke Skywalker. Now, here's a big spoiler alert. Well, it's not really a big spoiler alert. It was funny though. So, you know, there's this big dramatic scene, you know, these cool, like, you know, drone shots of Rey walking up to Luke Skywalker, and that last scene when she's handing Luke Skywalker the lightsaber, and you know, you just think it's just gonna be an epic moment. Well, he grabs that lightsaber and he throws it over his shoulder and walk off. It's, you know, it's pretty funny. You know, I'll give him that. It was funny. Anyway, that's what I was talking about earlier with the two storylines. Actually, it kind of broke off into 3 storylines at one point, because there was a conflict that was going on between the First Order and the Rebellion, and then there was another storyline which was Luke Skywalker and Rey, and then there was another storyline that was Finn and what's her name, Rose. Finn and Rose, and they was going to like some kind of casino world, you know. So all this stuff was kind of going on concurrently, and you may have gotten lost kind of in the story. I didn't get lost because I was paying attention, but I mean, you could get lost in the storyline to see exactly what's going on, and see how it all ties together. But going with the Rose and Finn storyline, they actually had kind of a love story that happened. I appreciate it because I like Finn's character, and I actually like Rose's character. She kind of brought in like a comedic kind of thing, and it was a little bit, it was a breakup between the main characters of the story. Now, another thing that was a very strong kind of bond, I guess you could talk about, was between Rey and Kylo Ren, being Solo. And some kind of way they are linked. So when I say linked, that means they can see each other.
We see each other. We see each other.
And they can see each other's surroundings. So there's something that's causing this link between the two, and it is revealed later on exactly what that link is. I'm not going to give you too many spoilers in this video, so you'll find out what that link is once you see the movie. But there is another thing when we talk about the First Order and General Hux. I guess the one thing that I didn't understand was where Snoke came from. There wasn't really a kind of a storyline, but you know, from where he came from, where he is in the Star Wars, you know, universe, and you know, they kind of made him the supreme leader over the dark forces, but I don't really necessarily know exactly where he came from. So, you know, he had a very big part in this movie, and I kind of wish that they kind of went into the backstory, where he came from, how he came into power, before, you know, the events of the movie actually happened.
A couple of the other characters in the movie that I want to talk about was Vice Admiral Amelin Haldo. She ended up becoming second in command on the rebellion squad once General Leia had a little issue out in the galaxy, and they actually made her character visually stunning. I was actually surprised to see that character come into play and the way that they made her role. One of the bigger things I want to talk about was going to be the appearance of Yoda. Yoda was in this movie. Wow. So we see Yoda and he comes in like normal and gives us little nuggets of information that we may have normally missed in our lifetime. So yeah, cool. Yoda was in this movie. Also, speaking of Carrie Fisher was in this movie quite a bit. They took her out for a little bit of the movie and then they brought her back towards the end of the movie, and her character was featured very vividly in this movie. So moving forward, it's going to kind of be hard to phase her out, I guess you could say, because at the end of the movie she was still in it. So I'm not sure exactly how they're going to phase that character out since she is no longer with us. A couple of other honorable mentions is going to be Poe and DJ. I really like Poe's character. He is kind of a feisty part of the rebellion, but towards the end he kind of looks at the rebellion as kind of a protector and doesn't want to really go in kind of wild style and do things that could negatively affect the rebellion. DJ's character was a cool little character, but I didn't really, they kind of brought him in and took him out, and you really didn't know whether or not you were trusting him or if you wasn't trusting him. So that was kind of a neat thing. But the biggest, I think, the biggest actor in this movie was Adam Driver. I really liked his character. Kylo Ren, or Ben Solo, is a character that really needs to be developed, in the future of this Star Wars movie. So big spoiler alert here. Luke Skywalker is going to ascend, or he just kind of puffs up in a ball of smoke and he goes away after they have a confrontation. I was a little disappointed in their confrontation, but they was going for a shock factor and they got that. But I do like Kylo's character, and I do like the development of his character, and I do believe that in the future he's going to play a good villain. But we do see a conflict within him, and then not so much, but it wasn't really resolved whether or not there was a conflict or not, which that's why he has that scar on his face.
So that's pretty much it for those storylines. Another thing I want to talk about was some of the funnier moments with the casino world. I know a lot of reviews that I've seen so far have kind of bashed that little casino environment that they showed, but it was kind of cool to me to show like an Earth-like planet, but kind of with alien features with it. It kind of showed like an opulent, really over the top, kind of Las Vegas-y, but like more upscale than Las Vegas casino. And this is where Finn and Rose had to come down and to get this master decoder, which they end up getting another decoder, which wasn't necessarily the master decoder. Anyway, they got this guy and they were supposed to go and break the First Order's ship because the ship was tracking the other ship. Anyway, so they went to this world and it was a whole, storyline that went on with that. But I kind of missed the and maybe it was because I just missed it, but they was going to look for this one certain guy. They identified the guy they were looking for, and then some stuff happened, and then they went way far off from the casino. Mind you, they was waiting for the First Order was actually shooting on all of the rebels. The rebellions was in one big fleet, and they was like shooting at the rebel ship, and they was killing them. They was killing all of them. They was actually trying to find this master coder. Well, they found him. They lost him, and then they found this other random guy, and then he became the coder. You know, that it kind of was it's a stretch, you know, really, for them to be thrown in this jail cell, and then, you know, all of a sudden now they are with the actual person that they were looking for, you know. So there was just a lot of little quirky things like that happened throughout the movie. Another thing was the Porgs. So the Porgs was a really cute, fun little character that was in the movie, and I thought it was going to get old, but it didn't. Every time the Porgs did something that was funny or cute, everybody in the movie laughed, and it wasn't overdone. It was done enough to where it was an important like character or part of the movie, the shtick of the movie. But it wasn't overdone where it was like, okay, I've seen that already, you know. So that's pretty much it. I mean, there's a lot to go into the movie. You really have to go see it. I would recommend, out of 10 stars, I would give it a solid 8. I would. I know some of the diehard Star Wars fans are going to, you know, massacre me because they are diehard, but you know, whatever. I really don't give a. Anyway, that's all for today, guys. I am going to do more videos like this when I go see movies, reviews, whatever, because I like movies. I like blockbusters. What can I say? Whatever. If you like these types of videos, please like, share, and subscribe. I really appreciate it. Hit that bell icon. Hit that notification icon. See you guys later.